can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Now, full disclosure, we tried to film this, but the satellite kept dropping out, so we've resorted to what we used to normally do, and that is just do it audio only. So we've got the duck. We're up at the top end of Australia, Sue and I, just been up to Cape York, the furthest tip of the northern part of this continent, and the duck's down in Melbourne freezing his tits off, I reckon. Over to you, Duck. How are you? How has the week panned out?
It's been a marvellous week, Sam. The sun comes up the next day. The sun's out today. The birds are chirping. It's 7 degrees, though.
Yeah.
So absolutely freezing. But hang on. So Cape York,
yeah,
the most northern tip of Australia.
It's called the tip. If you're not familiar with travelling and what the locals call it, I thought, gee, people are going up to get rid of rubbish at some sort of dump up there. But no, it's called the tip. The top, I would call it, the top of Australia.
The top of Australia. And how have you been treated on your travels up through that part of the world? Because I must admit, I've never been that high. I would love to get up there,
so to speak. So, Duck, let me tell you this: we have had fantastic response to everyone we've visited, as in the caravan parks and the communities. Been to towns I've never heard of. I'll tell you one thing I've noticed. I'm just going to say this: as you travel further north, the Aboriginal community and the people, the travellers, the campers, the white people, have a tremendous bond. I've never seen any activism or any angst between the people. Most of the stores are staffed by Aboriginal people. They're pleasant. So are the people, the tourists. There's never any sign that anyone's disgruntled with their lot in life. It is an eye-opener. And we have been to remote places and they welcome you with open arms because we add to their bottom line, but they have their own sanctuaries and their own reclamation areas or areas where you're not allowed to go into. So they have not the best of both worlds, but we don't intrude on their lifestyle too much, and the lifestyle we do intrude on, they reap a bit of a benefit from it.
You know why I'll tell you why they probably get along. They stay out of one another's business. It's not commercialised. They get on with life. They enjoy life from day to day. They don't have gossip columns. They don't have media. They don't have press. They don't get seduced by all the crap that we do when you're in a commercial world like we are. And you know what? When you think about it, what a way to live, where you can just get on from day to day and you worry about what you worry. The only thing you have to worry about is having a meal on the table. For breakfast, lunch and dinner, hopefully, but you're just not seduced by the crap that we are in society and in particular in this country right now.
You're spot on, Duck, and the social elites, the Victorian government, for a start, they're spending completely utter waste of time on reparations and investigating genocide that happened 150, 200 years ago without worrying about the people getting macheted to death in all the supermarkets and the crime that's going on in that state. And I noticed the photo opportunity of pork barrelling by the Premier, Jacinta Allen, welcoming a Muslim person, giving her the keys to a flat that's been provided by the government. Just nothing more than angling for votes because they've been let into a community, and it is sickening when there's no need for it. And the Prime Minister saying that the Parliament is richer for welcoming to the country at the opening of Parliament. That is absolute, so dishonest and so disingenuous. The welcome to country is an activist's thing. It's not a tradition. It's just got up for the tourists, and we just put up with it. And there's now toddlers taking part in welcome to country at daycare when they turn up. It is so. It's just pushed by rabid, feckless weasels.
Once again, because we're in a commercialised world, Sam, which is why we're down here, and they've commercialised it. So tell me, given that you're in Indigenous Aboriginal country, have you come across? Has anyone done a welcome to country since you've been on your travel?
Not at all, but
Not at all.
Not at all. And they don't even mention. I've spoken to plenty of Aboriginal people. They love. I'm not saying they love me, but they love the fact that we speak to them. They speak to us. A lot of them know who I am, because of the football. And I have got on great with them. They don't ram it down your throat, but all their houses and the place they live in are all decked out with Aboriginal art and artefacts. And you drive in and there's driving into an Aboriginal settlement. It's fantastic because they don't swarm over you.
I'm going to stir you up then and say this, that I found out during the week that during all Australian selections, Sam, I don't know how many times they meet a year, but I would say it's 4 to 5 times, I would assume, given that it's a fairly serious job. And they sit down, and before they sit down and start discussing it, so I'm not sure who's in the room these days, but it used to be Jared Healy and Mike Sheen, and I assume the CEO. Gillen used to sit in there, Andrew Demetriou, the CEO of the AFL, so I assume Dillon sits in there, Andrew Dillon sits in there at the moment, and before they start that discussion, they do welcome to country.
Because it's just feigned virtue signalling.
No, but that is. So you know what I've been like with you, because this is like, your, this is your life ambition, the welcome to country stuff. But when I heard that, I thought, oh, hang on, like that is, I don't know why you would have to do that before a meeting. Is beyond me, especially given that they meet 4 or 5. Like, I'm not sure. Does the AFL actually, given that that's the All Australian, does the AFL do welcome to country every day they go into the office?
God knows.
No, but I'm fascinated to know, because if they do it before that meeting, do they do it before other board meetings? Do they do it before a board meeting? Do they do it before they sit down in negotiations with their partners, as in Bunnings or a Coles or an IGA or whatever it is? Do they do well before all of those types of meetings, or is it just because it's the All Australian meeting? I'm fascinated to know. I'd love you to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, and the only reason they do it is that it's just feigned virtuosity of pretending that if we could acknowledge that the pioneers built this country, and we respect everyone who's in it and were here before us, and we want to grow together.
You don't go over all of that again.
Oh, well,
shit. All of that.
What about the bloody Mount Martha Council who won't have the Australian flag up at their meetings? What treacherous vole those people are. They're honestly nothing bare than snotty little fucking slugs.
Well, they should. If they don't put the Australian flag up, then you get kicked out of the council. You can't not put the Australian flag up. It's a crime in America if you do something to their flag, isn't it? Or don't do something to their flag.
It is, but there's plenty of people bucking that now just because Trump's in charge. How good is Trump? He is a marvellous man.
Yes, I know you love him. I do. I do. So I did want to say that also, because I know that you love talking about, the armbands and everything else, and I know that you're passionate about this because you met with a man that is backing a very good cause. Craig Cole.
Craig Cole, I interviewed Craig Cole. His organisation is called Leave Our Kids Alone, and he told me stuff on the podcast. You can look him up I interviewed him about 6 weeks ago. He said the pedophilia and grooming ring in Australia by prominent people in the community is extraordinary. People don't understand. And if you're talking about suicides and mental health and people just doing it tough in life from when they leave school or even before they go to school, this is what's happening. And he has a rally at the Flagstaff Gardens on the 2nd of August at noon on the Flagstaff Gardens, when you consider that Joshua Brown has just been arraigned on 70 charges of touching up people and being a pedophile, and there's he said that is the tip of the iceberg, and he's been on about this, and he's a marvellous man, and some of the things he told me on the podcast should make your hair curl. So we're just giving a shout out to leave our kids alone. If you want to go to his website, Craig Cole, 2nd of August, Flagstaff Gardens, if you want to try and save the youth from the predatory slum slags that prey on our kids, that's what you should go and attend.
And how about and some of our, and maybe some of the media go down there and name and shame some of these people that do, real life stuff, real life crime like that. And by the way, Flagstaff Gardens, I think, is near the Vic Market, Sam. So just for those people that don't know, but that is a fantastic cause, and that's the other thing. They're protected, these people that do that sort of stuff. They're not allowed to be named, and all these rules and laws around that. And you just, we kick the ball better than some, but you put the beer in the wrong esky and you get named and shamed. It's quite incredible how some people get protected.
So much so that
and others don't. It's quite incredible, which leads me into something, Sam, because the AFL, they had Danielle Laidley. You've met Danielle, ex-teammate of mine.
Yes.
Premiership player in 1996.
I didn't play against her, but I have met her.
Yes, she was doing some stuff for the AFL a little while ago. She was going around to the clubs. I'm led to believe, this is, once again, I don't believe everything I read, unlike you. But I read this and I thought it was interesting because all of a sudden, as you mentioned last week on the podcast, there's been a few homophobic slurs. There's talks of some players getting 6 weeks, 5 weeks, and what should the penalty be, and how damaging this is, and people are committing suicide. Well, talk about our farmers and committing suicide because of the droughts that they've gone through over the last couple of years, et cetera, et cetera. But Danielle was saying that the AFL reverted to an online course for the players to listen to, and she believes that they've sort of missed the mark. That getting around and educating people about the effects that those homophobic slurs have on. So what I think she was trying to say is there are a lot of players that are living with this. And the reason why they don't come out is because of these types of slurs, and she was just the torment that you go through, et cetera, et cetera.
So are you saying, because I'm saying this is not right, the majority, maybe all, of the homophobic slurs directed at players on the field have nothing to do with their sexuality. It is just a throwaway hyperbolic line to try and put you off your game. If I called you a homophobic slur while I was on the ground, you're not in that category. We're just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It is just an.
I think it's like anything. I think it's like anything Sam. It's a bit, whether if someone says something about you, to your face, or it might be they write about you. It might be media, might be several media, it might be the news, it might be lots of different things, and we've both lived through that. If it has an element of truth to it, it hurts you. If it is truthful, it hurts, right? If it has no truth to it, well, it doesn't hurt at all. For you to, and this is how I approach life. And if I didn't, then I'd be in a cardboard box myself. But it hurts if it has an element of truth to it. And I think so. Anyone that gets offended by anything that anyone says to them, it's probably because there's something behind it.
Fuck, turn it up. We're talking about sport.
No, you know what I'm saying. So
I know what you're saying.
You're not listening.
I'm
saying that if I called you something homophobic,
I'm agreeing with you, Doug.
Correct.
But
if I called you something, you would just laugh it off and go, "Well, I'm pretty sure I put that to bed." years ago.
I wasn't saying turn it up to you because I disagree with you. I'm agreeing with you, but how this is related to the sport we play, and if any person has had a homophobic slur directed at them, it is hyperbolic. It is not literal. It is not meant. It is only just a throwaway line, and every person that it's been called a homophobic slur, I bet are not homophobic or gay or whatever. It is just. It is. We read out 20 things that you might not be able to call people, from fuckwits to fat fuckers to everything.
How was your feedback? How was your feedback on that, Sam? You followed.
Well,
what was your...
Well, 90% of what we say, for the people who listen to this, absolutely adhere to our mantra and what we say about life, and that was no different from all the things. Eventually, the logical extension of this, Duck, is eventually the league will, the AFL, the hapless AFL. Wait till I get on to the lies they told me or someone indirectly just in a minute. The hapless AFL will eventually say you cannot speak on a football field. You cannot utter a word. And then that, well, so
they've already. You can all. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to advertise a player's weight now. You're not allowed.
That's what I'm saying.
It is. We will get to a point. I think you're right. I think the world. Well, not the world. For whatever reason, Sam, we're becoming the nanny country of the world.
And I'll tell you what else is coming the nanny country. The umpiring has become the laughing stock of any sporting code in the world. The umpiring is puerilely stupid and childish. The umpiring, the person, I can't watch it. They are so pedantic to pull up every single virtual
rule. You're not going to believe this, Sam, because you're at the tip, because you're at the tip, and I don't mean as those who are just tuning in. You're not at the tip. You're at the tip of Australia, Cape York. We did have a couple of things during the week, and now I've lost my thought where I was going with that. Actually,
someone ran to the mark. I saw they came from.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Didn't go over. They ran to the mark and stopped. And the bloke said, "Oh no, you were moving on the mark." He said, "I was just getting to the mark. I'm allowed to get to my mark, aren't I?"
Spot on. And that's the one. Sorry, there was that one and descent. Now there's been a lot. The players, they've just let that one go. Right? Remember a couple of years ago where you even looked at them the wrong way, or you know, it didn't matter what you did. It was 50 metres, and they loved every bit of it, and they ran down, and then someone would say, "Oh, you're kidding," and they another 50. Yeah. Well, they picked one of those out on the weekend, and someone got 50 metres for descent, and it's going to cost a game. It's going to cost a final. And what do we do now? Like, what are the coaches and the assistants and everyone else and the players themselves? What do they do now? I mean, there's descent 50 times every weekend, and they just plucked one out on the weekend.
So the great Greg Swan, I don't know if he's great or not, but he's been at Collingwood and Brisbane. He's come over to come down to take over the CEO's job. I think Laura might have had that, but they've moved her aside and Greg's taken over. Maybe he'll address some of the cringeworthy crap that goes on in our once great game, which is standard is fast declining. Don't care what anyone says it is. It's just evolving into a different game. And there is, I notice, how long can the media and the pundits on all the shows speak about the contact that someone had their nose broken because they was it Maynard or someone ran in, looked at had his eyes on the ball, and the bloke ducked down a little and he caught him with his shoulder as he was going for the ball, broke his nose. Well, they went on and on. This is a contact sport, and sometimes there is a duty of care when you go for the ball, and sometimes people are going to get injured without actually hanging, drawing and quartering them. The media went on and on, the cow eyes and the angst and the tugging of the foreskins. They went on and on and on about it. It's a contact sport, and it wasn't deliberate. It was an accident, and sometimes contact sport accidents happen, but stop going on and on about it. And this is the trouble with all the shows. People just bring it up and have a different angle and a different responsibility, and think of their families and think of the hospitals and think of people that you're giving the example to an underage. Fuck, but seriously, could we just toughen up a fraction?
Well, one of the things that Swanee has said, Sam, is that he wants to. Yes,
Ooh.
Greg Swanee. He wants to get rid of the bounce. So throw the ball up. What's your thoughts, given that you're an ex-champion ruckman? What do you think about
ex-champion.
that?
No, I don't agree with that. Bounce the ball, that's the tradition. If it bounces outside the bigger circle, they throw it up, bounce the ball. It gives that uncertainty to the ruckman. It makes them adapt on the spot to where the ball's going. I don't agree with that. That is just clinical, in my opinion, clinical nonsense.
If by throwing it up, if it got back to then the two ruckmen separating rather than stand there just grabbing at one another, separating, if it brought that part of the game back for ruckmen where they actually ran and jumped at the ball and had some skill in that area, would you be a fan if it did that?
Yes, I would, Doug. A very good point. If they threw the ball up and the two combatants were required, as the law is meant to be, to stand on their 180 degrees of the circle and run and jump for the ball and make no contact before they actually try and hit the ball, I would absolutely agree with that.
And what about, he's also said straight away he thinks the game goes too long. Would you be a fan of shortening the game? I know that when I was actually working in the game, I would have loved it to be shorter because it made you work less. But I couldn't. I do think that some of the quarters go for far too long.
So is this because they blow time on for what? When it
goals.
Goes over the...
Well, they blow time on for goals, and they also blow time on when there's a certain stoppages and the ball gets spilled out or whatever. So,
how would you shorten
the
the... Well, so the only way you can shorten...
Well, you would just make... So at the moment it's 20... Isn't it 20 minutes plus time on? Is that,
just make it 15 minutes plus time on.
15 minutes plus time on, correct.
All right, and then we could cut down the interchanges because you don't need to be as aerobically fit to stay on the ground for 20 minutes less.
Yeah, and... 100%, and I tell you what has been backed up too in recent times is the form of older players, and it just highlights to me how diluted this game is, and it's just kids playing on kids. I mean, some of the older players, Gunston for Hawthorn couldn't get a game for Brisbane 3 years ago. He's having nearly a career best year. What does that tell you about the defenders of the game? What does it tell you about the game itself?
There are none.
Players are dominating. The older players are just still dominating the game because the game is so much weaker than what it once was.
And that's why our game has become a farce, as a spectacle. The very few high marks, very few long kicks, and very few people are accountable for any person they're meant to mind, and they just run rampant. And I said this last week, I heard commentators say, you've got two tall key forwards. Why not kick the ball down pretty quickly to them rather than chipping it around the back line? How long have we been saying this? How coaching nous would you have to be to actually instruct your players to play that way? It is extraordinary, Duck, and
extraordinary. But they're getting paid. They're getting paid. So I guess they are because they don't factually know. But all the media are talking about Harley Reid's contract at West Coast Eagles. Harley Reid has not put 3 good games in a row. He has not played 3 good games in a row in his career. Now, it's only a young career and he's still a young man. So I'm not potting him for that. But he has not played 3 good games in a row yet, right? In actual fact, he hasn't played one really, really good. I don't know whether he's got coaches' votes in any game at all. I assume that he might have in a game or two in his career. Once again, he's still a young man. But they're saying $2 million a year Harley Reid. Wanganeen Millerer plays for St Kilda. They're saying that, $1.5 to $2 million a year for him. In saying that, he looks like a very good player. And they're even, they're saying Melbourne are trying to coax Joe Danaher out of retirement and come back and play for Melbourne, that is, the Melbourne Footy Club. Apparently in talk, trying to coax him back to play footy after him retiring, obviously after the premiership last year. I'll tell you what, if Joe came back into this position, he should ask for $2.5 million, given that he's a premiership key forward, and he'd come back and dominate. That's how weak the comp is.
I was just going to say, that just shows you the dearth of talent that is spread amongst the 18 clubs playing because...
Yeah.
Because
you want to coax someone out of retirement.
That's right, and that is fundamental to the declining standard of the game. And I don't care what anyone says; they're exciting and all that, but the standard of the game is non-existent.
I've got an idea, Sam. Get behind me with this. So this is what I think. Then, given the weakness of the competition and where it's at, and what players are getting paid, if I'm St Kilda, I'm going and I'm having a chat to Nick Riewoldt. Right, he's only been retired for about 7 years. I'd go and have a chat to him. I'd go and if I'm Brisbane, I'm going to have a chat to Jonathan Brown. If I'm Carlton, because they're struggling, I'll go and have a chat to Sticks Kernahan. Maybe you can coax him out of retirement. I reckon they'd come back and dominate. That's the funny thing.
Now, Duck, you keep taking your shirt off and showing us your six-pack and how you've got a great technique and a rig. What about the great Duck waddling down to Arden Street and having a crack down there?
My shoulders are no good. But Boomer Harvey, he's still as fit as a fiddle. Get him out of retirement.
Yep.
And the way the game's played, no one plays on you. He'd run around like a sheepdog and pick up 40 possessions a game. He'd still dominate the game right now, Boomer Harvey. That way he could come back and play with his son. Now, there's a fair bit of tongue in cheek about all of this. But there's a lot of truth in jest, Sam, as you know as well. And I honestly believe blokes like Boomer and a few others that have retired could come back in and still absolutely kill it, because that's just how the game is played now.
Maybe a couple of the AFWL lasses could sneak into one of the lower sides.
I'm glad you brought up the AFL women's because they start soon.
Yeah,
they're only a couple of weeks away, I think, or a few weeks away from starting. So
that'd be exciting.
We'll get a look at. Well, you know what? I know what you think, but I am.
What do I think?
I'm excited. Well, you don't like it. I do. I'm excited. I'll tell you what I'm excited about.
What?
I'm excited about another pre-season that these women have done, and I just want to see the improvement. Because, like I said,
yes.
I've watched it from the start, year after year after year after year after year, and the improvement every single year. And I'm excited to see how much they've improved again, because it has gone up. Unlike the men, dare I say it. Now, clearly the women, because they haven't played it their whole lives, they're improving at a rapid rate, and the men are going backwards. And they might end up meeting in the middle. And I know that I'm being a little facetious when I say that, but the women are improving and the men aren't. And that's the simple fact, and you would have to agree with that.
Yes, the women start on August the 14th, Sue tells me. This will be a huge week to look forward to. I think it's fantastic the women girls play AFL. I think it's great.
Do you agree with that?
No, I don't.
On the incline. They're on the incline, and the men are on the decline. And I'm just talking about the improvement in the game.
Who cares about their improvement, Doug?
You can't disagree with that, though. You put the men, but you can't admit that the women are improving.
I'm not potting the women, so to speak.
No,
Doug.
you're potting the men
Yeah,
but
I
you've
am.
got to say that the women are improving.
I don't have to say that at all because no, I don't have to say that because no one, no one watches them. The ratings are no. It is just an adjunct. It is a virtue signalling adjunct to the AFL sides. No one watches it. They make no money. The revenue is non-existent. It's a bit like the women's basketball in America. They said, pay us what we're worth. The whole competition loses $40 million a year. No one watches it. And if you don't watch it, you can't generate sponsors and you can't generate a decent game that you can put on in front of people.
No, it's still, like I said, Sam, that the enrolment rate at junior levels, and I know that you get around and you go to a lot of country areas just like you are now, and I think maybe do that. Maybe ask the questions. By the way, is AFL big up that where you are now?
Not really.
What sport? Not really?
No.
No,
well, not that I've seen, but everyone knows about AFL.
Do you see kids? Do you see kids running around kicking a Sharon, or what?
No.
Have they got a basketball in their hand? What do you see?
Don't see that. Maybe we're in the wrong areas. We go through all the towns, maybe, but they're at school. I don't know, but don't see any of that. Maybe don't see any of that. But the AFL is well patronised and well regarded up here, and I hate to say this, but I've been recognised by lots of people, mainly because of the footy show and all that, and you'd be staggered.
Mate, you're probably more current affair. They've recognised you through current affair.
That's correct. No, that's quite correct, Doug. But
I'm joking, Sam.
No, I'm
taking the piss out of myself.
I like you taking the piss out of me, Doug. Now, I'm going to mention this now, but. I don't know who people think we are. I hate to be lied to, but we be blatantly lied to. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago we thought it'd be a good idea to wear green armbands to help the farmers? Because
absolutely.
they're beleaguered.
Yep.
They're doing it tough. And I rang Geelong and I said to Stephen Hocking, who's a very good man, do you think we could try and crank up some steam to put green armbands on the so then the person, Elise May, wrote to the AFL and spoke to a bloke called Walsh, who said, oh no, it's a good idea, but we can't put armbands on people, only those who are in bereavement, black armbands for those people who have not made it and have died and have something to do with football. We can only wear black armbands, because if we put any other colour armbands on, everyone will want to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak. Well, can you believe it? They've just announced the TAC, the Traffic Accident Commission, I think it is, TAC are banding with the 10 Victorian clubs, the AFL and the 10 Victorian, to wear blue armbands to it's called Commitment to Road Safety. It's called Band Together. These are people who die on the roads through ignorance, stupidity, speed, drugs, alcohol, and some of them genuine accidents, and they are banding together by wearing blue armbands. A great cause. But if we were told, or Elise May was written to and said, no, we can't put any other armbands on unless they're black. Well, now they're wearing blue armbands, and the farmers who die from none of those things, maybe indirectly a bit of drugs and alcohol after they've lost their properties, they die from nothing more than climatic conditions, which wipe out a generation of their farming ability and their properties. And the AFL, in their the disingenuous corruption and lying to people like me, when we say, why can't you wear green armbands, they come up with some bullshit, and the next week, I reckon they got the idea from us in the first place, the next week almost, they decide they'll wear blue armbands to help the TAC.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Sam. You're spot on, but I'll tell you why, and it's pretty simple.
Please tell me.
Because, well, you have the TAC Cup, so that's the TAC Cup, the under-18 competition, of which the AFL get money from that. And they sponsor. I'm just letting you know there's always an ulterior motive, and it's as simple as that. Now, don't get me wrong, TAC, I think it's great. But if they're going to allow blue armbands for that, then they should get behind the farmers and do the green armband day. And they should have done it months ago when we first brought this up, and other people have spoken about it as well. It's just another example of the AFL bowing to the all-power dollar, and if they get something out of it, they're happy to promote anything, and that's exactly what they've done there.
The country is going down the drain. Toddlers forced to take part in Welcome to Country at daycare. Mount Martha committee won't fly the Australian flag. The Prime Minister says we must have Welcome to Country at the open Parliament. We have the Victorian government given photo opportunities and pork barrelling to Muslim. Nothing wrong with Muslims, but anyone. Why are they putting that on the front line? Because they want their votes. They cannot. If they just concentrated on something that's ruining the community, like law and order and litter and graffiti and bad actors roving the streets, macheting people's hands off, they'd do a lot better. And this state would do a lot better. And it's great to be out of it. Just wandering around up here, looking at how the rest of the world and the rest of the country lives.
What's the property prices like up there, Sam? I might move up there. Do they have gossip columns up there? Do they have that sort of stuff up that way? Because I might get a bit of land and move up that way.
Well, I reckon you could buy half the country up here. You could just move in and take over some communities.
I was going to say property. Hey, before I know that before you go for this, and I know you've got a very important call.
Yes, we're speaking to the
up.
doc.
Yes, you're speaking to the doc. I did want to ask you, because I know you would have played against this man, the great Ted Whitten.
Yes.
So the 100-year anniversary, I assume Ted was number one. So they named their top players of the last 100 years of the Bulldogs. And I should... so Ted Whitten, you played against Ted.
Yes, I did.
Yes, and I've heard so many things. Mr. Football,
Yep.
We know what he meant to State of Origin.
Yep.
We all remember where we were the day he did the MCG, Lap of Honour, et cetera, et cetera. I have spoken to Mike Sheehan about him before. Mike said he was just a colossus. He could play centre-half forward, centre-half back, obviously. Tough, uncompromising. Tell me, is because they've named their top three. So the Bont, so current day player, Bontempelli was number 2.
Yep.
And Chris Grant was number 3.
Yep.
So
and Ted was number 1.
I assume he was. I'm jumping. I just read somewhere that Bont was 2, Grant was 3. So I'm just assuming Ted Whitten had to be number 1. Tell us a little bit about how good was he and why was he so good?
Because you said the two salient words. I think you said he was tough and he was uncompromising in a game in an era when you could be tough and uncompromising. He put the fear of God into people. He was talented. He could kick with both feet. He was inspiring physically, even spiritually and mentally. He was inspiring. He wasn't a greatly educated person, but I tell you what, he was sincere and he could look you in. He could look into your eyes and look through the back of your head. He was intense, and he was one of the people famous for saying, attack the ball with relentless ferocity. Couldn't get away with saying that today. If you had your eyes on the ball and ran tough and hard in to grab the ball and you took out 2 or 3 people on the way through, you'd be sent off the ground or you'd be reported. You'd miss 6 or 8 weeks for actually being too physical. But he gave it out, he dished it out, and he copped plenty. But he was a fantastic ambassador for our game, and rightfully so. He is a legend. You just don't forget. You should throw Doug Hawkins. Doug Hawkins played the record number of games for Footscray when it was called Footscray.
Well, why don't you, once you've look up, I assume it's online now, but they named their top 25. Dougie would definitely be in that. They
group. Named the top 25, did they? Yep.
I think it's the top 25. I think they said they've named, or top 20.
Is that this century or forever?
for the last 100 years. So the Bulldogs,
so there'd be
like North Melbourne,
Schultz, Charlie Sutton.
Oh well, Scotty West won 6 or 7 BNFs. He was
interesting to see who they came up with and who did the votes.
Yeah, it's always exactly right.
It's always subjective.
Subjective and yes, correct, and that's and it always, those types of lists always will be, and as they should be. It's just a group of people's opinion. But I just wanted to ask you about Ted Whitten, because I had spoken to Mike Sheen about him before, but given Mike never played against him, and you did.
Yes, I did.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that insight.
Now, Duck,
I reckon people would be interested.
Now, Duck, full disclosure, we did this filming it to start with, and we had that many interruptions. It's never. People won't know that we did this. I'm just telling you, we did this, and it was we were very good. It was far better this first time because you got your heart in it more. Because I know what you're going to say, and you know what I'm going to say when we repeat it. We hope it came across like it was meant to. We were far more savage on most of the things I spoke about in the first effort. But maybe that'll get to air. But it's very nice to speak to you, Duck. Could you do something this week that'll get us back on the front page? Anything. go to a trans meeting, or go to an LGBTQ thing and address the crowd, or do something. Put your underpants over your head and run down Burke Street.
Yeah, I'll do my best for you.
And get
Sam.
Tess on next week.
Yes, you know what? I'm speaking to Tess tomorrow morning.
All right.
Tess, I've got a big meeting with her at 7:00. She's going to unpack what's in my head. So,
Jesus Christ!
Look out, and we will get her on next week. There you go. That's my promise. We're just going to have to be flexible. How about you get to an area instead of being at the tip of the country? Why don't you get to an area where you have some internet?
Well, we've had internet. We've got Starlink. We've got Starlink. I'm just looking up. Maybe we're under some trees. I don't know, but it worked before. But we'll make sure that it works.
When you say maybe you're under trees, just look up, Sam. You're either under a tree or you're not.
We're under some spinnaky trees, but it's been working well for the whole night and morning until you came on. Maybe you're the problem.
I'm an electrical,
Righto, Duck. Well, good on you. Right. It's great to speak to you. All the best.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.